All right, let's get into it. We're about to dive into one of the most exciting and, frankly, turbulent stories in modern science. What happens when artificial intelligence crashes into the world of biotechnology? It's a story of absolutely incredible promise, staggering amounts of money, and some really, really hard realities. So let's start with the promise. Okay, check out this number. This is the promise of AI boiled down to a single stat. An 80 to 90% success rate in phase 1 clinical trials for drugs that were discovered using AI. Now, you have to compare that to the old way, the historical average, which was just 52%. This isn't just a little improvement, it's a complete game changer in the odds of actually getting a new medicine to the people who need it. And it's not just about being more successful, it's about way, way faster. What used to take, 5 years in the early drug discovery phase can now be crunched down to as little as 18 months. I mean, just think about that for a second. Years of painstaking research just compressed into a tiny fraction of the time. And of course, there's the money. The financial impact is just staggering. Projections are showing that AI could save the pharmaceutical industry over $75 billion every single year by 2030. That's money that can be plowed right back into tackling even tougher diseases, all because of these new efficiencies. But here's the twist. Here's the paradox at the heart of this whole story. Despite those unbelievable figures, a lot of the AI-native biotechs are really struggling. We're seeing companies that raised billions on pure hype now having to merge or delist from the stock market or even shelve the very drugs they discovered with AI. So what on earth is going on here? To really get our heads around this, we first have to understand why there was so much excitement to begin with. This isn't just smoke and mirrors. The hype is built on some genuinely powerful, revolutionary breakthroughs. So why is AI so good at this early part of the process? Well, it's because phase 1 trials are all about one thing: safety. And AI is an absolute master of chemistry. It can predict things like toxicity and how a molecule will break down in the body across millions, literally millions of potential compounds, flagging the bad ones before a single dollar is ever spent in a real lab. And the first big wins, what you might call the killer apps of biotech AI, are in tasks that fit perfectly into a scientist's daily routine. Things like predicting the complex 3D shape of a protein or instantly summarizing decades of dense scientific papers. These tools just work. Why? Because they're built on clean, verifiable data, and they deliver value right away. And make no mistake, this isn't some niche thing happening in university labs. The industry giants, the big pharma companies, are all in. This quote from a senior VP at Bristol-Myers Squibb really shows how deeply AI is already woven into their process. It's not just one tool, it's becoming the connective tissue that speeds up the entire R&D pipeline. Okay, but that's the promise. Now it's time for the reality check. Because the journey from clean, predictable computer code to the messy, chaotic, unpredictable world of human biology, well, that's where the real trouble begins. Now, this number isn't actually from biotech, it's from across all industries. A 2025 MIT study found that a whopping 95% of enterprise generative AI projects fail to deliver any measurable business impact. And biotech is absolutely not immune to this. The reason so many of these initiatives are stalling isn't that the AI models are bad. It's because of something much more fundamental. This slide gets right to the heart of the problem. AI is a genius when it comes to chemistry, which, at the end of the day, is governed by a set of predictable rules. But biology is chaos. It's one thing to predict if a molecule is safe. It's an entirely different, monumentally harder challenge to predict if that safe molecule will actually be effective inside a complex, messy human body. And that's where AI still hits a massive wall. So let's break down these roadblocks. The number one killer of AI projects? It's the data. It's almost always a mess, siloed in different departments, full of errors, and incomplete. Then you've got the black box problem. An AI might spit out a promising molecule, but if it can't explain why it thinks it's a good choice, scientists just can't trust it. It's kind of like getting the right answer on a math test but showing none of your work. You can't be sure it wasn't just a lucky guess. And of course, underneath it all is just the sheer mind-bending complexity of human biology itself. Okay, so all of this, the hype, the failures, the massive potential, it's forcing the entire industry to mature. The Wild West era of AI and biotech, where anything goes, is officially coming to an end, and a new rulebook written by global regulators is taking its place. And this change is happening really, really fast. Just look at the timeline for 2026. The FDA in the US and the EMA in Europe, two of the world's most powerful regulators, did something they almost never do. They agreed. They released joint principles for AI. That alignment, plus the EU's Big AI Act coming into full force, sends a crystal clear message. The days of voluntary guidelines are over. So what do these new rules actually mean in practice? Well, we can pretty much boil them down to four key themes. First, the human is always the hero. AI can suggest and support, but a person has to make the final call. Second, know your risk. The level of human oversight has to match how risky the AI's task is. Third, document everything. You have to be able to trace every single decision the AI makes all the way back to the data it learned from. And finally, validation isn't a one-and-done thing. It's a constant, lifelong process. And this chart really drives home a crucial point. These new rules aren't just a problem for the data scientists to figure out. Core ideas like data governance and human oversight, they cut across every single part of the organization, from the earliest discovery labs to the manufacturing floor and the regulatory affairs department. This is a fundamental shift that affects the entire company. So, where does this all leave the industry? Well, all of these forces, the early wins, the hard lessons learned, the new regulations, they're pushing biotech into what people are starting to call the builder phase. The focus is shifting away from chasing hype and towards the hard, unglamorous work of building lasting, reliable infrastructure. I think this quote from Karen Akinsanya at Schrödinger just captures the new mood perfectly. The question isn't if we should use AI anymore. That debate is over. The question now is how we use it responsibly and rigorously. It's about moving on from one-off magic tricks to building dependable systems. And here is a really fascinating insight into that new builder mentality. Where is all this new AI talent coming from? You'd think they'd be poaching people from Google and Meta, right? Nope. A remarkable 67% comes from training and upskilling their own existing scientists. They're basically creating a new kind of expert, a scientific translator who's fluent in both biology and machine learning. This shift is also changing the whole strategy. The old way was to chase after a single moonshot AI model that was supposed to solve everything. The new, much smarter approach is to build what differentiates, meaning create custom models for your unique biological challenges, and buy what scales, using proven off-the-shelf commercial tools for everything else. So this all comes together in a new playbook for how to win. And it starts with that unsexy but crucial first step, investing in the data foundation before you do anything else. It means putting your AI leaders right inside the R&D teams, not in some separate IT department, so they're solving real scientific problems. And it means building platforms where every new piece of data makes the whole system smarter. This is the hard foundational work, and it's why 80% of these firms are actually planning to spend more on AI, not less. Which brings us to our final thought. So, no, AI has not solved biology. It probably won't anytime soon, if ever. The complexity is just immense. But maybe, just maybe, that was never the right question to ask. The real revolution here might be something quieter, but even more profound. Is AI creating a fundamentally new scientific method, a more integrated, data-driven, faster way to ask questions and test our ideas? That might be the true breakthrough, and it's happening right now.